Okay, this is Algebra 1, Lesson 3.7. A question that we'll maybe look at here in a little bit is how fast did Pathfinder travel to Mars? So that's it was used, the Pathfinder's Mars mission used solar-powered spacecraft to carry a robotic explorer, and it was called Sojourner rover to Mars. Sojourner, and I'll show you a picture of that in a little bit, was the first wheeled vehicle operated on Mars. And a little bit later, we'll look at a formula to estimate Pathfinder's average speed on its flight to Mars. So we'll also want to talk about in this lesson what a formula is. A formula is an algebraic equation that relates two or more quantities. And we're going to go through a lot of formulas. You can solve a formula to describe one quantity in terms of the others. And so, for example, if you have a known formula, I'm going to show you how you can take that same formula and work it through to figure out something else about it. So it's a little vague. So the first one we're going to talk about is a temperature conversion formula. And here you can see that it says solve a temperature conversion formula. I'm trying to get my stylus out. And the Celsius or Fahrenheit temperature scales are related by this formula here. C equals F minus 32, 30 degrees Celsius, times 5/9. So if you're trying to figure out Celsius, then you only have Fahrenheit, this is the formula that you use. And I actually just rewrote it here and put it, just same thing here. I just reformatted it here. It's a little bit easier to work with. Let's say that you were asked to solve the formula F. That's the Fahrenheit there. And you needed to transform the original formula. We need to transform this original formula, or this one, whichever one, to be able to isolate the F here. And so we're going to do the same thing you've been doing to isolate. Instead of X, though, we want to isolate the F. So on the next page, I'll walk you through that process. So on this right here, we have our formula C equals 5/9 times 5 minus 13. I wrote down my original equation. And now I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 5.9. And so that would be 9/5 times C equals 9/5 times F minus 32. And then my original 5/9. So what that does then is we get rid of, that's not what I want. Okay. So that takes away those two. What we're left with is right here, 9/5 times C equals F minus 32. Now we need to just simply simplify, and we have 9/5. I didn't put it here, but we want to add 32 to each side. I don't know what's wrong here with my stylus, but plus 32 there. And that's what we get right here. 9/5C plus 32. These two are crossed out, equals F. And now we have isolated the F and simplified it as far as we can. And we end up with what we have down here. Now we want to solve for the area of a triangle, and that formula is going to be right here. Area equals, it should have a little line right there. It doesn't, I don't know why it doesn't, but I'll put one here. Looks funny. Yeah, so it looks like 1/2. I didn't do very good. Okay, anyhow, it's 1/2 times B times H. And so we have, it says find the formula for the base B, which is this right here, in terms of the area A, that's up here, and the height H. And that all sounds very confusing, but right here we're going to go back to our original formula. So I wrote the original formula out. As you can see, I was having some difficulty with that silly stylus last night. It kind of works later on, but it was causing problems here. So I'll tell you what it says. So here we have 2a. This is 1/2 times bh, and I actually multiplied both sides by 2. So that's where we get the 2a. And when I multiply that out, I put the 2 over the 1 right here, and then I crossed it out. So what I'm left with is 2a equals 6a. And then we go on down here. We have we want to divide both sides by h so that we can get the b isolated. Because if you go back up here, what I'm trying to get is the b isolated. So when it says find the formula for the base b, it's asking you to isolate the b. That's what it's really saying. And then we step over here and we have, we end up with 2a over h equals b. And that's the most that we can do there. The next thing we want to do is solve and use an area formula. And this time we're going to do it with a rectangle. It says the formula for the area of a rectangle is A for area equals length times width. And find the formula for the length LW, that's L times W, in terms of the area A and width B. So the first thing we want to do is find the formula for length. So we're going to use the new formula, the one that we just did on the previous screen. We solved it and we got 2a over h equals b. So we're going to use that formula here. And throughout this whole lesson, it has you figure out a new formula and then you use that new formula to solve it. And so we're going to solve for length L. It's a little cursive there. I can't do the cursive when I use the when I type in equations on this program. It doesn't do a cursive L. But sometimes in your book it uses it always does. It uses a cursive L. So yeah, we have area equals LW. That was what this formula here says. And we have L equals AW. And now we're going to plug in our so we're going to plug in, now that we know the formula is A equals LW. The first thing we're going to do is divide by W and get rid of the W on the L side. We end up with L equals A over W. We plug in the 35 square feet, which was the length. It says length of a rectangle that has an area of 35 square feet, a width of 5 feet on the bottom. And we divide that out. That equals 7. And so L equals 7 feet. And then we'll use that formula to solve the next part of it. So here we have the formula for the area of a rectangle, which we just figured out was I showed you in the picture before. It was A equals LW. Now it wants you to find the formula for length L in terms of area A and width W. Use the new formula to find the length of a rectangle that has an area of 35 square feet and the width of 5 feet. So this is exactly what we just did. I just did a little bit neater here. We're going to solve for length L, and we have, again, A equals LW. Oh, there's a spider walking on my thing. Yuck. We want to isolate the L, so this all just goes through exactly what I just did on the other screen, just a little bit neater for you. Now, in the formula for the area of a rectangle, let's say you're asked to solve for height, which is going to be represented by h. We would say, let's say you were given, let's see, We have kids in the hallways. So our answer is going to end up with h equals 24 over b. And you probably would say, well, how did we get that? So let's go back and look at the original formula for area of a triangle was a equals 1/2 times bh. So that's our original one. We're going to multiply each side by 2 to get rid of the 2 down here. That's going to leave us, when I do that, 2a equals bh. Now I'm going to divide by b so I can isolate the h, because that's what we were looking for here. And then I will use my new formula, which is going to be up here, h equals 24b, to solve the next part of this. And so here is use the formula to find the height of a triangle that has an area of 25 square inches and a base of 10 inches. And so here was the formula that we just worked out. 2a over b equals h. We plug in the, we have a height of a triangle that's 25 inches and 10 inches. And so we're going to, for the a, we're going to do the area of 25 square inches, which is right there, and the base was 10, so that's going to be 2 times 25 over 10 equals h. Now we'll substitute, that's what we did here, we substituted the given values, and now we simply simplify and work this out, and we end up with h equals 5. Now we want to solve and use a density formula, and the density of a substance is found by dividing its mass by the volume. So the formula is density equals mass over volume, and we're going to solve for mass. We're trying to isolate the m. So let's do that first. That's the first thing we're going to do. So here we have d equals m over v. That matches our equation, our formula right there. So I wrote out my original equation. Now I'm going to multiply both sides by v. That's dv equals mv times v. Then we're left with dv equals m. And then we can multiply, we can rewrite this as the, oh, hang on, that's the next part. Let me read that to you. So the next part asks you to use the new formula to find the mass of a lead sample that has a density of 1.3 grams per cubic centimeter and a volume of 0.09 cubic centimeters, and then round to the nearest tenth. So when we plug in the 1.3 grams, which is going to be the density, and we multiply that by the volume, which is 0.09, we get 10.17, and which is approximately 10.2 grams because we rounded up here. The 7 made the 1 a 2. And so all we did here was substitute values in once we had our original formula right here. And all we had to do was substitute in right here, and then we did an approximate and rounded up. So the mass of the lead sample is approximately 10.2 grams. Oh, sorry. So here's some interesting facts. The NASA's 25-pound Sojourner Mars rover covered about 330 feet over 83 days on that red planet in 1997. The Mars Pathfinder was launched on December 4th, 1996, and during its 212-day flight to Mars, it traveled about 310 million miles. We could use that information if we wanted to. We could solve the distance formula using d equals rt for the rate of r. So let me go over how, if you had information, you can use it to use the distance formula. So on this, I just want to, d is for distance equals rate multiplied by times. That's what we're going to use to do this. So here we have, we want to isolate the r is what we're trying to isolate here. So the distance formula equals rate times multiplied by time. And we have, so when we isolate for r, we have to get rid of the t. So we divide both sides by t, and then we end up with distance equals rate. So let's say you were given the flight time in days, but you want to find the average speed in miles per hour. Because there are 24 hours in each day, there are 212 times 24 hours and 212 days. So time in hours would be, we'll use the same formula here. Time equals 212 times 24, which equals 5,088 hours. So we can use this information that we get in this paragraph to substitute into this formula right here. I just realized that when I wrote this, I left some off. Sorry. This should be up here. The d over the t. So it's d over the t equals r. And so I'm sorry to confuse you on that. I gave you the wrong. So when we worked it out, when I isolated the r, that's what we got. So now we're back down here to this, which is my equation. And I'm going to plug in my hours here. So here's my 5,088 hours. And this 310 million miles was from what I said earlier in the screen before this on how far the Pathfinder traveled. So that's where I got that. And it approximately equals 6,928. So the Pathfinder's average speed was about 60.928 miles per hour. Well, before we get started, the girls wanted me to show how my stylus that has the little clear disc on it worked, and so they wanted me to write this. So this has nothing to do with you. This just has to do with the fact that they are crazy, really. Let me erase this off here. Okay. So now we're going to solve the distance formula. D equals RT, and we're going to solve for T. So we look back up here. We have D equals RT. That's our original equation. We're going to eliminate the R from the RT side so that we can isolate the T. And now we end up with D over R equals T. And then now that we know that that's our formula, then we can use the result to find the time in days that it takes to travel 40 million miles at an average speed of 50,000 miles per day. And we'll substitute what it just gave us into the formula above. And I'll just go to the next screen to do that. No, I'm not going to the next screen. Sorry. I'm going to do it right here. So hang on. So I will write, we have 40 million right here. So I will... This is really hard to write. Okay, so this is 40 million. That's the distance right there. And the rate, the speed is 50,000 miles per day. That's going to equal T. And we want to find out how many days it takes. And then when you divide that, you get 800 equals T. And so our answer is T equals 800 days. This is a silly cartoon I found. I just thought maybe this was kind of a dry lesson. Maybe I would give you something funny. This is kind of interesting because there's a movie that came out that was about women at NASA, and This is an aerospace engineer. It's Donna Shirley, and a lot of people don't know, but she was the manager of the Mars exploration program from 1994 to 1998, and she was the original leader of the team that built the Sojourner rover. And sometimes we don't realize that the roles that women played in the aerospace world. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting fact there. Here is your lesson right here. You're going to do exercises 15, 16, 18 through 21, 24 through 26, 33, 32 through 38, and 43 for 46. And then in class, during class time, use our graphing calculator and do the steps on page 170. Your homework will be due today, and if you can't get it, anything you don't get done will be due at the beginning of class, the next class period, except for the calculator part, because you'll have to use a calculator here at class.